There's some days.
You are up, Commissioner.
All right, Bannock County Commissioners are in session Tuesday, July 1st, and we're closing in on July 4th, so everybody be ready for that. Starting off today with Matt Olson. Matt, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Matt Olson, Director of Bannock County Juvenile Justice. Two items that we're covering today from our department. The first one is an agreement between the Idaho Department of Juvenile Corrections and Bannock County for what are called pass-through funds. These funds usually come in two different funding pots. The first one that I'll share with you has to do with what's called Substance Abuse Delivery Service Funds, called SUDS. Those funds are used for substance abuse treatment for kids who do not have Medicaid or other insurance, or they're participating in services that they cannot bill Medicaid for, or their other insurance will not provide. Bannock County does not receive those funds directly, but we do receive an allocation that we can utilize. Last year we received $122,654. This year's allocation will be a little less than that. It's $121,158. This funding is based on the 10 to 17 population in each county. The majority of that $121,000 will be spent on residential treatment for youth who wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise. Most of our outpatient treatment that kids receive, most have Medicaid, and Medicaid will cover it, but this will cover that gap for kids that don't have Medicaid and don't have insurance for outpatient as well. Residential is up to, I think, about $400 per night. New I'll say guidelines through Medicaid is now allowing what's called braided funding, which allows residential treatment to utilize Medicaid for the treatment portion of a residential stay, but these funds now pay for like the residential treatment expenses. So the nice thing is this will allow us to utilize more residential treatment beds potentially. Last year I think we were only able to use 4 because of that cost, but so that's the first pot of money through these pass-through funds, is for substance abuse delivery services. The second pot of money is what's called CBAS, which stands for county-based alternative or community-based alternative services. These funds are utilized again to meet a gap, but primarily for kids who would meet the Department of Juvenile Corrections custody criteria. And we are accessing these funds to be able to provide services as an alternative to commitment to the Department of Juvenile Corrections. So for us, primarily, these are used for counseling for kids who have been ordered to participate in sex offender specific treatment. So, you know, that can be anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 a year, depending on whether Medicaid helps pay for some of that, maybe up to $5,000 in some cases. That pays for the treatment and polygraphs. That's an expense, obviously. Years ago, Bannock County, we used to pay for that out of our probation fees, but it became too expensive. So these funds, both for substance abuse and for CBAS, are critical for us to be able to provide services to kids where there are gaps in their own ability to pay. So we're requesting a signature on that agreement. Again, we've been utilizing these funds for years. So,
How many treatment facilities are in Bannock County?
well, in terms of substance abuse delivery services, we have 3 that we utilize right now. They're in their in Department of Juvenile Corrections vendor network for these SUDS funding. There's a 4th that I think has just become online, but right now of our kids, 3 of them they're participating in 3 within the community. Okay. In terms of the sex offender treatment, we no longer have a provider in our community. We're using a provider in Twin Falls that does telehealth and then comes over once a month to see kids in person. So.
Okay. Any questions? Any additional questions?
I don't have any.
Do you have any questions?
Nope. That sounds good to me.
Okay. And I would move that we approve the pass-through funds recipient agreement as discussed. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Second item has to do with a non-binding memorandum of understanding that we're asking Bannock County to sign on to for Crisis Intervention Team Collaborative. What this is a primarily directed by Department of Health and Welfare, but it's an opportunity to bring together law enforcement agencies, treatment providers, other individuals who work with people in crisis, in an effort to make sure we have a system of care that allows us to get treatment to those individuals, and oftentimes as an alternative to utilizing law enforcement or county jails and detention centers and those types of things. So I think we've mentioned this before. Oftentimes with behavioral health, law enforcement may be called in a crisis, and sometimes those behaviors during a mental health crisis can lead to citation, court involvement, potentially jail. And so the idea is making sure that we're working with people in crisis where mental health is the primary cause of that crisis, to get them into services, to make sure that we're collaborating in terms of what services are available, how we're communicating, making sure there's access to care. So this group, there's no necessarily funding involved in terms of what this group has, but it's an opportunity to come together to consult, to collaborate. They meet every other week. It's about for an hour, and they do staff some cases and talk about people with maybe some crisis issues that are maybe more chronic, and making sure we can get those individuals into the right type of treatment, hopefully avoiding incarceration and those types of things for individuals who have ongoing mental health needs that might be more acute and lead to crisis more often.
What would be an example of that?
Well, there's quite a few examples, but let's say that you have a youth who, I'll just say, suffering from PTSD. And if they are at school and something activates that post-traumatic stress response, they may act out behaviorally that's inappropriate and causes disruption. Law enforcement may be asked to respond to that. What we do after law enforcement responds is critical. Do we focus on a track that allows us to make sure they're getting appropriate treatment for mental health, or do we focus on a court-involved track where we're looking more at consequences, punishment, those types of things? We definitely utilize a balanced approach in juvenile justice where we are focused on competency development in addition to accountability and community protection. But for us, a lot of youth are experiencing anxiety, depression, and making sure that we're having, if they're getting into a point where they're frequent crisis, making sure that we're finding the most appropriate, most available treatment providers that can meet that need. So, so that might be an example. If we have kids with anxiety refusing to go to school, and then when a parent might try to encourage them to go to school or use consequences, those kids may act out. Law enforcement may be called because of conflict in the home or a fight in the home, those types of things. I know we dealt with a case a while ago where a youth had left home. Parents called law enforcement because they needed to locate that youth. The youth came back home, and then law enforcement came. That youth suffers from pretty significant mental health issues, and then I think that youth was brought to detention as things escalated. So.
Okay. And how long has this group been meeting?
I'm not sure. For us, this will be relatively new to have the juvenile component added to it in our region. I've spoken with Health and Welfare. I asked if there's anything in statute that requires this, like the Bannock County Interagency Task Force, and they weren't aware of anything in statute, more best practice, and he said that these CITC teams are being utilized throughout the state, different districts. So.
Cool. Okay. Any further questions for Matt?
No.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we go ahead and sign the memorandum to establish the Crisis Intervention Team Collaborative.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
Dylan. And friend.
Good morning, Dylan Evans, landfill manager.
Aubrey Lewis, management assistant. Do you want to start with PSI?
Sure.
Okay.
We have a resolution from PSI Waste Services to continue using their services. They do all of the resident county out of the cities, and yeah, so they're our county pickup. And this just continues with the contract you guys signed, 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as what we've had previously. It's just changing the dates on it. Basically saying that they will be the ones continuing to pick up residential waste not within city limits.
Do they have any competition out there for that?
There's a few, like, small businesses that do dumpster rentals. They usually are on them about it, though. Like, hey, this is a kind of our territory, so.
Okay.
So what's their rates been over the last 5 years? Are they going up, they maintaining their rates, or?
They pretty much follow with our fees, so our tonnage fees, they'll go up
Or
with
you
that.
can pick
But
up.
what are they charging the end user? The people that pick it up?
I'm not sure what they charge on their side, but we charge them the same as what we would charge
Right,
anybody else.
but
I'm
I'm
not
just
sure what they
curious,
charge.
because I know the city of McCam, and we contracted with them, and they were always just minimal, if any, increases. They've been really fair, I think, for most of them out there. I just curious to see if their prices have gone
I
up.
had a small freak out when I was reading this, because it said they will increase 100%.
Yeah.
What? I had to read that like 3 times before I realized what they were talking about.
I just hope that that there isn't a growing gap between what they're charging out there and what we're charging for them. You
And
know?
they've been really fair. I mean, they work with us on like the 3-day pickup, you know, they cut a pretty good deal for us that way. We try and work together as best we can. They've been a really good partner to us, everybody that we've had to deal with, their drivers, everybody. It just seems like, as far as we're concerned, I think they're doing a good job.
We work with their manager, Casey, quite often on a lot of things, and from our understanding, he tries to keep it very slow growth. They only really increase it with our increases.
Okay. Just as long as long as the public isn't being gouged. Again, they got a monopoly almost out there.
That's what I was kind of getting at.
And I
If there's
just
any competition
hope
out there.
that our fees are here and they keep going here and they're just increasing their margins. It would be interesting to see what they're charging the residents out there and how that's been over the last 5 years.
I think that's why they've been so competitive though, too. You know, there probably would be other options out there, but I just think that these guys are so competitive that there's not a lot of hungry appetite out there trying to take it over.
I mean, they're good. I'm not saying they're not good. It's just, it always worries you when nobody steps up and competes with them, but their drivers are really good. We used to even, if they had a hydraulic leak, we'd even complain, and boy, they were right on getting those trucks serviced, and so I'm complimentary of them, not finding fault with them, but I just wondered.
Income actually uses a different service for their
Do they?
garbage, Snake River.
Okay, that's the other one.
Yeah.
And they're out of Moreland or,
Mhm.
but PSI worked really well with this on our dumpsters and stuff like that with the agreement we have with the cities.
They've been very good.
My only thought this isn't a fee in our fee schedule?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that
No
we don't
fees
have to be,
associated
and this, how do they collect from the individual
They
patrons?
invoice it out to them.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we wasn't having to adjust our fees every
No,
year after they do that and
no.
some type of coordination.
It's very similar to like how we pay our garbage bill, like in Pocatello, they send out the invoice saying this is what your monthly charge is essentially, so.
Okay. Take a motion.
I will make the motion that we go ahead and sign the resolution 202546.
We have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All righty, next on the
Vermeer.
list, yep, Vermeer. I went ahead and reached out to him. I was unsure when it said sales tax, and then there was a rental tax. I wasn't sure what they were, so I reached out and clarified with him, and he said, well, you guys are exempt, so we'll just go ahead and pull that off. I'll update your contract. Went through legal and got the indemnification closed out. And the date on this is a little bit flexible. That was the previous contract that you guys had reviewed. It had kind of incorrect dates on it. But when I talked to him about it, he said, it really doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. Once the contract's signed, I can just put you on the list, and then you can let me know when you're ready. So this one has a little bit better dates and stuff on it too.
So you're looking for the end of the month? to get-
Yeah, somewhere in there, whenever they get something available. The nice thing about it is I can kind of wait in the wings, and I can have it maybe delivered to us instead of having to go get it. If it's passing by the landfill and they'll accept, a different customer, you can just drop it off at the landfill. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do, but
Well, you got quite a pile up there right now.
we're ready.
Not saying that you didn't have a pile when I come up to get some.
Better save some.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
It's very ready.
Okay, I'll take a motion on that.
I'd make a motion, we go ahead and sign the agreement for the rental with, Vermeer Mountain West.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now for the fun one.
Okay, this one's for Global Payments. It's the company that we currently use for our credit card system with WasteWorks. We had discussed in our budget meeting how fees had gone up with them. We were able to negotiate fees back to what they were similar, or what they were previously. We still want to explore our options with different WasteWorks systems. What we ran into right now, though, is we want to save up some money right now because their fees had almost tripled. So we want to save money and then explore our options later on. With this, it does have a contract of 24 months. However, if we do find something better in between, the fee to cancel it is pretty minimal. If it's within the first 12 months, it's $500 to cancel it out. If it's after 12 months, it's $250, which is still significantly less than what we're paying in credit card fees anyways. We decided kind of with the move of the new scale house, we want to try and make things, that transition as easy as possible. And it might be really hard throwing in a new system while we're trying to figure out a third lane and traffic patterns, things like that. So we would like to have this contract showing the fee negotiation, but still explore our options for later on.
So what's the annual amount that we pay in processing fees?
It's based on per transaction essentially. So the rate that we currently were paying for their evaluation for it, for their risk assessments, things like that, was 4%. That's what they just jumped it up to. Now it would be down to 1.75%. So you're looking at, instead of 96 cents per transaction, you're looking at 13 cents per transaction. So it's going to get us back to between $2,000 and $3,000 a month, which is what we were paying before their rate increase. With that rate increase, it went up to about $9,000 a month.
So when you say 2,000 to 3,000 a month times 12,
Yes.
which is a significant amount of processing fees.
It is. That's what we've been currently paying. When I spoke with WasteWorks, that is their system that they use. That's their credit card system that they use with it. So again, where we're kind of wanting to minimize that change during the new scale house, it's preferred that we stick with WasteWorks. However, we do have demos in the works with total scale system, which could potentially make that credit card fee less based on what they use.
The $500 penalty fee to change is peanuts compared to what you're paying.
Exactly. That's where we were thinking, let's save the big chunk of money right now and then explore our options. And if we find something great, that's a very small amount.
Okay.
I'm okay with that logic.
Yeah. And I want to thank Jonathan for getting on this contract right away so we can get it on and help get that transition back as quick as possible. So thank you for that. Anything else?
With that, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and sign that contract with, Global Payments?
Global Payments. Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank
You guys
you.
went 3 for 3 today.
Yeah.
Gotta love that.
That's a good day.
It was close.
Christie.
Christy Davenport. I had a gentleman come into my office who is interested in a parcel that we had in the tax sale last October. It is parcel RPRM-CPM 009319. It's a little sliver of 0.06 acres. It's right by his property, and he would like to offer $125 to purchase that parcel.
This parcel was in tax deed, so, and we weren't able to sell it then. Any discussion on this?
No, get it off the books. We've had lots of discussions
Yep.
about this one.
Then you want to make the motion then?
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and offer the property at $125 on this parcel as stated.
Okay, any further discussion?
Be nice if they would combine that parcel number
parcels.
with the other parcel. I don't know if we could make that stipulation or not. I probably couldn't, but boy, we'd encourage it.
Yes.
Okay, I'll get the quick claim ready and have it before you next week.
Okay, we have a
Okay.
motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And with that, we're to the resolutions and ordinances. We have two resolutions, 2025-47, which is approving the June 2025 alcohol licenses, and Resolution 2025-48, approving the June 2025 salaries. Is there any discussion on either of those?
I'll make the motion that we go ahead and sign resolution 202547 and 48.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. I missed that one,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Pirates around there.
Yeah. All right, we have a public hearing notice. That is for the right-of-way, or excuse me, a validation of a highway or district system for Beehive Road. So this is just approving a public hearing notice, so I'd move that we go ahead and approve that public hearing notice. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Which then takes us to the consent agenda. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns about the consent agenda today?
Let's see, with that, I'll make the motion, we accept the consented items on the consent agenda.
I have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And with that, we will be adjourned until 10 a.m. when we will go to